Welcome to DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, a podcast by DroneSense. We explore real-world applications of drones in emergency response, offering a close examination of evolving trends in drone technology and its impact on public safety. I'm your host, Joe Kearns, Strategic Partnership Manager here at DroneSense. And hey, as you're listening, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe there's a story or a challenge from your own experience that resonates, or is there a topic you'd like me to cover in future episodes? I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us on LinkedIn by searching for DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, or visit dronesense.com/DroneCast to share your thoughts. Your feedback helps shape the show, and you might just inspire our next episode. Now, let's dive into today's conversation on advancing public safety through drones. Welcome back to DroneCast. I'm your host, Joe Kearns. In part 2 of our conversation with Jack Wu of Nightingale Security, we explore the broader implications of drone technology in public safety. Building on our earlier discussion about urban operations, Jack shares his insights on system integrations, emergency response capabilities, and his vision for the future of autonomous systems in public safety. Let's rejoin our conversation. Well, maybe even veer this a little bit. I'm not located in the city. I'm located in the mountains. And I've got massive, big, tall rock structures and things like that. Is it somewhat similar? Is it different?
I would say obstacles are obstacles, but the only difference is, the risk profile changes, right? You got population density, in population centers. And you also have those centers being targets of terrorist attacks, those centers having to weather the result or the consequence of a natural disaster. Right? New York has flooded before. It's no joke. Subway gets flooded and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, worth of damage. And there's been power outages in New York as well. Not recently, but in history, there's been times where that has happened. So our system is designed to operate independently. So unlike other cloud-based systems, we don't rely on the cloud. Everything is on-prem. Each individual system, although they're networked via the cloud, but they can operate. Let's just say that there's an incident, there's an event, a catastrophic event, wipes out the internet or disrupts the internet in New York City. Our system can operate independently. So from each location that they're installed, you can still operate it using your proprietary local area network or wide area network. You can still do that. All the data is still collected. All your commands will still go to the drone. The drone will still be able to come back, land, charge itself. Nothing changes. Absolutely nothing. And it's designed so each one is independent. So let's say that there's a large cyber event in New York, and not the good kind. Network gets compromised, so they start hacking into different systems. Well, for each one of our base stations, there's no single point where you can gain access to all of them. You would have to repeat the same process to every single one of the systems. So it's really designed for this. It's designed to handle, let's say after an earthquake in California, right? Some of the areas will be gone. Some of the data centers might not be online. So what do? You might not have the internet. You still have to function because you got to do damage assessment. That's where our system will still be able to operate without. It could even be pre-programmed under certain situation, act completely autonomously. Now, we don't have a waiver for this, but this is something that can be developed later on with the help of the FAA. In a case of a major disaster, like a statewide earthquake or a large regional fire or whatever, the system can automatically take off and start doing pre-programmed routes and start to actually provide that situational awareness, gather that data moments after the incident, moment after the disaster has struck, because that information could be useful in deducing how did the disaster spread, right? If you look at a fire 2 hours ago when it first started versus 2 hours later, it's going to look different. So the idea is to be able to capture that data and be able to provide that data to first responders so they get a sense of how it progressed, data that they otherwise would have missed, would not been able to collect.
Jack, there's so much you've thought about when it comes to this system, and so much more. This is heady. I really appreciate your approach to this, and it's you're solving a problem with a reliable solution.
Well, we try. Again, it's not perfect. Anyone who says their system is all that is really kind of, either they're, you know, doing it with some special magic, or they're full of it, right? But honestly, like, we're not perfect, far from it. There's still a lot to learn. There's still a lot for us to improve. But I think when it comes to being able to like operate in those environments, the system is ready for that.
You had mentioned like collaboration between local governments, emergency services, community stakeholders. Is there anything you could elaborate with deploying a DFR system in these like urban areas?
We think integration is key. We're not the end all be all. We are definitely not the only solution. We are a tool in a toolbox. Combined with other tools, our end users will be able to accomplish what they need to accomplish. And us as a platform, we need to do integration with sensors like ShotSpotter, the gunshot detection, for instance. That enables us to now know where to go. We need to integrate with other 911 dispatch systems so we can quickly answer those 911 calls in coordination with the dispatcher and the operator. We need to be able to integrate with stuff like DroneSense, command and control, as well as stuff like VMS, video management system, Genetec, Milestone, Vigilon, Bosch, take your pick. Those are some of the bigger guys. We need to be able to integrate with them as well so we can provide that single pane of glass for our end user. We don't care about whether or not they're using a Nightingale software. We think that the customer should have the experience that allow them to get the job done the way they want to get it done. If it means that we need to integrate with a third-party software, third-party sensor, great, because we become part of that stack. Physical security, or DFR, is a team sport. It's football, not golf, not archery. Okay, this is a team sport. We play a position, but we need other technologies within that stack to play the other positions so we can win the game. That's how I see it.
Well said, Jack. No, I totally see what you're saying here. Now, when it comes to say if you were in the position of a city planner and you wanted to build or adopt a DFR program, what steps, what advice would you give? And then even bring in the conversation you're having right there about RTC, like Real Time Crime Center. What would you say there?
RTC, Real Time Crime Center. I think, well, first of all, I want to say that I'm not an expert in RTC. We're a robotics company. But based on what I've seen, RTC is really a matter of budget. I'll put it out there. It's a money problem. If you got the money, you don't have a problem. It's a situation. Having RTC is really important because it gives you that place where you can combine all the intel and be able to review it and have other people, other colleagues who's going to manage that situation with you side by side. It's all about shortening the response time, not just the time to respond to the incident, but also time of communication, response time between people, response time between machines, response time between people and machines. So being in one spot, having that RTC is going to allow them to be in the same room, communicate person to person and person to machine, and be able to get immediate feedback and everybody looking at the same screen. You don't need to explain what you're seeing to another person. And imagine if that has to go 2 layers. Now it's a 15-minute communication cycle versus 0. And if it's an emergency, and it's an emergency that's developing as we speak, you don't have 15 minutes. You got to get everybody up to speed on the same page right now. So that's how we see it.
You need to keep that DFR, drone as first responder. You need to keep that as the key.
Yeah, we're just a tool. To be called a tool is an honor for us. We are not the tool that can do everything, but there are other tools in the toolbox. Our customers should have other drone types. They should have other software. They should have ground-based robotics as well. They should have all this, and we should be able to work with all of them to be able to be effective. So that team is being built. And you will see that kind of team, a robotics team, being built at different municipalities.
With your perspective, how do you envision this evolution in drone in the box, DFR, RTC, in smart cities that are being made and public safety in the future? What's your envisionment of this?
Well, smart city's been talked about for the last 10, 15 years already. I won't use that term because I think it's like, it's beating a dead horse that's not there. I think what's going to happen is you have certain functions of the municipality to be able to be automated. And other functions are just going to be like garbage collection. That thing is going to be human for the foreseeable future, especially for New York City.
Don't go for a walk on a Tuesday in New York.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're not going to have the entire city unless you're Singapore. If you're a small city state that's almost run by a dictator, you can do that. But here in the US, what I see is you're going to have certain functionalities automated using drones, certain functionalities on the ground automated, basically a whole bunch of IoTs. We would be one of those embedded IoTs. Embedded meaning installed, like part of a permanent infrastructure. And then you'll also have IoTs that are more portable, for instance, that are on the back of a truck or taken out from a backpack or whatever. But ultimately, what's going to happen is all these IoTs is going to go through some type of AI software where it is going to help reduce the workload of humans at that RTC or emergency response center. So it will automatically route information to where it's needed, automatically alert rescue resources or emergency response resources by proximity, by capability, by whatever criteria that a city has, decided to set the variables, to weight these variables for. And then the AI will be able to automatically assign these things, while the humans will examine these decisions and say, oh, wait. Why are we, sending 3 man-carrying drones, autonomous drones to that location? Oh, I see, because we have life-critical injuries. Okay, so those drones are going to go there, right? And they're going to put people on those drones, and they're going to fly them to the top of a hospital, right? And the UTM needs to deconflict all this. I can see DroneSense eventually becoming something where there's ground-based robots, there's whatever, there's that robot-to-robot communication piece where stuff like DroneSense will be able to help coordinate and basically make the operations of all these autonomous platforms more efficient. And also communication between them, for instance, because they might not be on the same network. So now they send the data to a centralized location. That centralized location then share that, relay that data. So I'm talking to a ground-based, an unmanned ambulance. Okay, this unmanned ambulance trying to get to location. The drone is providing that information, and then you got other first responders in a manned ambulance, on foot, whatever. They're all converging at the location, but the software is coordinating what they need to see, what resources they need, based on the live video, based on the condition that is changing. Oh, wait, it was a fire. Now there's an explosion. Oh, now we're going to need more people because there's trauma. That's now instead of 2 people, now we got like 30 people that might need, medical care. So that is too much workload for people, but it will be great for the drones to fly, and drones can see how many people are lying on the ground motionless, or how many are on the ground, like basically in agonizing pain or waving at the drone, whatever.
Or what hotspot at the temperature of the fire, or where the parking for EMS could be, or a gunshot, or all of it.
That's right. And we can mark those. We can mark each individual's location, send that location to the first responder. And the first responder don't have to worry about, how many ambulance do we need? AI have already decided.
No, they just pull up their mobile device and see Ops Hub on mobile and see where to go or what to do and all that information.
That's right. If there's 40 people that's injured, they're going to mobilize as many ambulances as there are people if possible, right? But then how do we get them there so this way they can take different routes so they're not congesting each other? And if there's autonomous cars, have them move out of the way. That's a smart city. That's actually automating the coordination part. And I think that's probably the most important part to an emergency response, because communication and coordination. It'll be great if all of us can be on the same network as well. So 5G works great, 4G works great, but again, this is still kind of a distant vision. Imagine if we're all on the same network. Now the drones can talk directly to the ambulance without having to relay through a cloud-based service, without the humans having to intervene or assign things. It's just, the idea is a little far-fetched for now.
It's not too far-fetched. I think it's great, man. Your vision of the future and or what we'd like to see is spot on and wonderful. And you're such a wealth of knowledge of this. So appreciate your perspective, like, tremendously.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Quick break to highlight whether you're flying, sharing, or managing your drone program, DroneSense has everything you need. It's hardware agnostic, so it works with a variety of drones, sensors, and other hardware, giving you ultimate flexibility. And with the ability to collaborate across agencies securely, DroneSense helps you scale from one drone to 100 plus, supporting you in everything from routine calls to disaster response. To learn more and get started, check out the link in the description. Well, Jack, we're coming up close to time on this episode of the podcast, and man, we have so much more we can even talk further. And I have a few more kind of closing questions I'd love to ask you that are just kind of fun. But can you share one exciting or under the radar project or trend that you're currently following in the industry? We mentioned quadrupeds a moment ago. That's kind of fun because they're, we've got drone in the box, right? Now we've got like dog in the box. There's this. I mean, there's so much we could talk about. Like, we've got drones that are all using props. Is it jet propulsion next? Like, what is there something interesting?
No, I think what's going to happen is the ability to coordinate them, sort of like battlefield management. This is something that the DoD have been working on for, more than 20 years. I said probably like more than 30 years, since the 80s. They've been working on the ability for naval assets, air assets, ground assets to be able to coordinate with one another. It's still not complete, believe it or not.
We're still back to battleship?
But they're the farthest of probably any organization on this planet. The idea would be for drone to be able to communicate with other drones, regardless of their make. So right now, our drones communicate with one another. But it'll be great if our drone communicate with another drone, whether it's ours or not.
Kind of like Tesla and their the communication on the road and so on for automation.
Well, because our drone might be running out of battery, right? Right now, we could call another drone to come and take over. But what if, that's the only drone we have there, right? Now it needs to call another third-party drone. For the sake of our customers, we're happy to integrate. So we're happy to integrate with any drone company to make sure that our drones communication are capable of that. So that, I would say, it's not sexy. It's not as sexy as like new propulsion or being able to fly like X number of hours, something so obvious. But to be able to coordinate and improve communication, it's like the glue that the industry needs to kind of get everything working together. Now, that vision is not going to be accomplished by a company that's going to focus on one vertical. You're going to need to kind of expand outside of DFR, because there's going to be other assets that might not be useful during peacetime, but only during times of emergency, right? Like, when someone, let's say that the 911 system is disabled, you use your SOS on your cell phone. That SOS, if a drone is patrolling in the area after a disaster, a terrorist attack, an earthquake, whatever, the drone should say, wait a minute, I'm getting, 2 or 3 SOS signals. Why don't I go take a look? They might be inside buildings, but they also might be outside trapped under debris, or they might be bleeding because they got hit by something. Those are things that, or if someone is a victim of a crime. Now, this can be abuse. I'm thinking of, I might be naive here, but, they might be able to press a button.
Well, it's still, we're talking about our utopian, awesome, who knows?
Yeah, it's blue sky right now, right? It's blue sky. But but this would work on a college campus, for example. Like if a student is under attack, this app will be only available to tuition-paying students. And that student can then press a button, and then the drone can get there first, shine a light on the area, right? Hopefully deter, right? If that doesn't work, observe, and get the first responder there and let them know that, hey, let the bad guy know you're being watched. This whole thing's being recorded and the police is on their way, right? So that's the kind of stuff that I really would like to see. I think keep advancing individual platforms technology doesn't make sense. Like, for example, GPU's been around for freaking ever. Not until generative AI came about did everyone goes, oh my God, GPU is so important, and NVIDIA stock shot up, right? So by making GPU faster by itself doesn't really do very much. But when it's combined with the software that can truly take advantage of that processing capability, then you have something awesome. So I think same thing. The ConOps needs to change. The platform itself needs to further integrate. And we need a communication network in a single pane of glass software that can handle all these variety of inputs and outputs. So this way we can have that simple drag and drop like Minority Report or that future where you could have all the information you have in front of you. And I can see people at the real-time crime center or emergency response center picking up a drone by hand with an AR glasses, pick it up and drop it over there saying, I want you to go there. Now, that's if the AI is not really doing that for them, but a human can actually still go in, change the shape of the 3D map and be able to see that in front of them. So there's a whole bunch of technologies still yet to be developed in order to truly make our platform more and more and more useful. So right now, we're just an eye in the sky, a camera when you want it, where you want it. That's today.
Well said. We're in a really interesting time in our industry right now. And it's who knows what tomorrow's going to be, honestly.
Yeah, I think DroneSense have a pretty major role to play if the vision takes you guys to the area where you guys are coordinating multiple platforms and, being able to ingest a lot of data and also process that data, having your own generative AI, your, GAI cluster that's able to take all that and be able to process it and then give it back to the end user as useful information that's distilled, not just raw data.
Yes, I believe that tremendously. And seeing DroneSense as, it says drone in the word, but make it a land, sea, air, just sense of it all. Yeah, I definitely see that future. Well, Jack, that's all the questions I have for you today. So this is that time I can pass the mic back to you and let you do your like a shameless plug on Nightingale yourself, or maybe talked about something you're excited about that you're working on, and then let our listeners know a good way to contact you if they want to engage.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited to, work with more police departments, but there's really only one NYPD, right? This is the most challenging environment, the Big Apple, the only one of its kind in the world, basically. So it is sort of like set the bar high, and then we'll be able to kind of do this anywhere type of scenario. When it comes to commercial, we're working with data centers, logistic companies, oil and gas, that type of stuff, all just for security. We work with other drone types while we're there to provide the alert. So if there's a leak, we can detect that, but we'll need another drone with a different sensor, like an $85,000
optical gas imaging sensor.
Yeah, it's like a multi-spectrum. It's like a laser-based thing where they fire these lasers and then it bounce back, and they can
compressed nitrogen or whatever that is. Yeah,
and they can actually see what type of gas it is. So we're actually integrating with multiple platforms on that front as well. And I think the scale of the defense business, which everybody already know, it's been kind of, growing like gangbuster. We haven't really played a major part because, again, focus. We don't want to go into a market segment where they don't really have a need for our capabilities. But we have been working with different branches on protecting military bases. So that's an area where we're very proud of what we're doing for the country, and we'll continue to do that. We'll do that quietly. It's not something that we want to go out and be like, oh, we are doing that. Look how we are doing it, right? Because, those who are in charge of security probably will like it to, be somewhat of like an unknown, to potential adversaries. But that we're very proud of. And then getting all of them to coordinate. Imagine 20, 30 of these things all working together, right? Search for X. This is the area. They all go, they divide up the plots themselves. They all search, And then the first one that finds it calls the nearest 3 drones to now converge on the area, tell the other drones to go home, right? Because there might be another threat, so go charge yourself right now. And then those 4 or 5 drones will then rotate each other to continue to follow that object X.
Redundancy.
Yeah, that were actually pretty darn close. So that's the near future.
Keeping it focused on one thing, keeping it focused on that, and then eventually be able to have, who knows where the future will take you, but just providing this very proven, reliable, simple, focused 9/11 and keep rolling on there. To add to your shameless plug, I would even help plug in that same way. I remember being at an event and watching everyone struggle to try to get their boxes to work, and yours flawlessly, nonstop, flew, did its job, came back, closed, land, opened, upload, and then took off again and just continued to operate. And it was a testament alone to me. Well, Jack, what's a great way for listeners to connect with you or engage?
Feel free to email me. I'm jack@nightingalesecurity.com. And you can find me at police conferences, physical security conferences, or just go to our website, www.nightingalesecurity.com. You can click on that email up there, and then that email also gets forwarded to me.
Jack, thanks again. And thanks for taking the time to visit with us here today and share your insights. And thank you to all of our listeners who are listening in to DroneCast. We're looking forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Joe.
And that wraps up our 2-part conversation with Jack Wu. Special thanks to Jack for sharing his valuable insights and expertise with us today. If you'd like to learn more about Nightingale Security, you can visit their website at nightingalesecurity.com or connect with Jack directly through LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening to DroneCast, and we'll see you next time. And that's a wrap for today's episode of DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and thought-provoking. As always, we want to hear from you. What do you think of today's topics? Do you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes? Don't forget, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn at DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, or head over to DroneSense.com/DroneCast to share your thoughts and get more content from the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and sharing it with others who are passionate about the future of drones and public safety. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.